Oh, so now people listen now that someone else said it. I kid. But damn, why can't I be the one to say something first and then people listen? So hey guys, we got a juicy one for today, and the official Japanese forums are not happy with the current gearing system and are raising quite a lot of criticism over it. And I can relate, gearing up in Final Fantasy XIV does have a few problems. It has a lot of great things, but that doesn't mean that it's perfect. And I've spoken about it before at length, and reception was mixed. Almost 90% like ratio on the video itself, but extremely many very vocal critics came to say that I was wrong, elitist, and that what it was raising was irrelevant. I disagree with that, obviously, still, and I'm kind of glad that other people are starting to speak up on it. I'll go through the post in a moment, but let's just introduce how irrelevant gearing really is. Guys, the problem is while you can say it's irrelevant, in reality it absolutely is relevant, and we're seeing it play out in the game, impacting real players in the actual game now. It's one of those less talk, more action in this instance. The actions are speaking louder than words. And this is going to be one reason why you actually do see the healer shortage in Party Finder, especially in P8S. I can think out of literally hundreds of healers that I've spoken to on a one-on-one basis over the past few months. Maybe 10 are willing to go into PF with minimal gear for that fight, and I haven't seen at least 5 of those 10 even go into Party Finder ever this tier, so even that might be untrue. If we're super honest, queuing into Party Finder group is rolling the dice, seeing if samurais can stop chanting Kaiten, 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 and instead use feint when necessary. You will 99% of the time be disappointed, so you as a healer need to use gear to patch up the rest of the team's failings. People might not like to hear that, but that is what gear to a healer is. And 99% of the time in a static, a healer is the last person to get the gear because they don't technically need it as much as the DPS, but in Party Finder, I completely think that healers need that to patch up the mistakes for the group. Party Finder groups are not world first groups that can clear with minimum item level. Every single item level that you have, especially as that healer, makes up for not having Addle or Feint or Reprisal or Magic Barrier, etc. Let's get into the posts, and I'm going to paraphrase them for time's sake, otherwise this video would be bloated to half an hour like my original recording. But remember that these are the official Japanese forums, so these are probably the most potent forms of feedback that the dev team can ever get. And so the first point is going to boil down to the user rating Savage as a tank and being open to play healer, but there is an extremely large amount of difficulty in transitioning over to having healer gear. As they say, quote unquote, if I start gearing healer, I will have to start from 0. Even if I commit to the path, by the time I got best in slot, this tier would have died down. They then go on to saying, similar to what I've said, that Final Fantasy XIV's biggest perk is that it's a game with multiple roles on the same character. They then suggest nerfing gearing requirements, and current measures like unlocking loot is way too late, like way too late for it to be relevant. We're currently on week 7 of this current tier, and it's pretty much already considered a done and over and now old tier by many in the community. It's old news at this point. People who don't have or can't get a static already have quit the game. Let's be honest, most of them have quit and said, I'll try again next tier, see in 6 months for tier 3. You will hate to hear it. I don't like hearing it, but the fact of the matter is that's what a lot of people's mentality are. They're just like, my static broke apart, we only cleared the first boss, whatever, we'll see in 6 months for the final tier. But continuing on with the posts, there are other posts that I do really resonate with fully. A lot of this is going to be me quoting it. Rather than thinking of this as nerfing the gear requirements, it's more like Yoshi P said, quote unquote, go switch to healer, and we went back to him with, sure, then give us more gear. That's a really potent statement there. I actually fully agree with it. One of the beauties of this game is being able to flex, and yeah, I agree with that fully. And then the next one is, I think Yoshi P is implying, quote unquote, just buy crafted gear, and then, quote unquote, you don't need to overmeld in his remarks, but honestly the players probably won't allow that with the no overmelds to happen. It's a difficult problem. And then someone else asked, is there anyone who can clear the tier without pentamelds? Even if there is, it's limited to the very top players, isn't it? To which I got a response saying, if you join a reclear party as an item level 610 healer without penta, people will think you are a parasite. It's not a matter of when you do it, it's a matter of a player not having the bare minimum gear needed to clear. Obviously there's a lot more posts in there, but that I think does a good slice. So if nothing else, we all know that Japanese players view the parasitism of some people in Party Finder the exact same way that we do on North American servers. I kid, kind of. But remember that these are Japanese players from the Japanese official forum saying this, and they are in general known for being far more welcoming, so this is saying a lot. Kind of in general, I think North American Party Finder would not even let you try to get into P5S with 610 gear. I think that they're all raising the item level requirements above that, so you can even be called Parasite here. Moving on from that, what are we facing right now then? Well, exactly what I warned about months ago in a video with what I'd call extremely negative reactions, with some people dragging me for it. Gearing does have problems in this game. Is it as bad as a World of Warcraft? No, but again, there are a lot of perks in this game that we could see better flourished out. So let's very briefly go over some gear problems. If you want an expanded explanation, go to the other video because I'm just going to breeze through it here. Let's talk about if you're just gearing up one job, just one, not all jobs, not having your raid team ask you to swap roles, not you trying to apply for a role in an ultimate static. We're just talking about you on one role trying to gear up. Getting Savage loot in that instance is RNG dependent, and most people have pretty bad RNG, meaning that you're usually forced to rely on books, which you get 1 book per week to buy gear. This combines with the best in slot gear sets to mean that it will take a single player 16 weeks, also known as 4 months of clears. That means 16 successful weeks of clears to get best in slot from P8S. That's because you need the body usually and then the weapon. That's presuming that they have even already cleared P8S in the first week. That's no exaggeration either. So if you cleared it first week, we're on week 7, we're looking at 9 more weeks for you to get all the books for the body and chest on one particular job. 16 weeks every week clearing, no life events getting in the way, no travel. That's a hefty chunk of time. 4 months is a lot. Now really what makes this even more problematic, or salt in the wound in some people's mind, would be hello Criterion Dungeons and hello Ultimate Raids. You need, and I really do mean you need best in slot and best in food to survive and properly progress through Ultimate fights. That's a baseline expectation and a fair one. I wouldn't want to see that removed. But when you want to flex another role and you're 17 weeks into the tier and just bought a tank weapon and tank body piece, now your Ultimate groups wants you to go healer. It's time for you to eat shit. People may say I'm making a contrived fake example, but anyone in a static at any point knows players move on and quit the static. Players get kicked from the static. Some people obviously want to take 2 months breaks for any reason, like from personal experience, maybe they had a baby and obviously a video game takes less priority, and so they want a few months off of the static but to join back later. All of these situations I've seen myself over the years. This means that you need people to adjust, and more often than not you're going to be connected to people and someone is willing to say come in and they're really good ninja, and yes, hi Sturban, love you, but that person isn't there to say be a healer. Like the person who left was a healer on, say, a work trip. Now people need to slide around the composition to try and adjust. But what this means, kind of going at it from a higher level, is now all of a sudden your hard-earned tank gear that you sunk all those weeks of books into is irrelevant now, because you now need to go ranged physical DPS for your ultimate group or healer or whatever, and that is going to obviously need best in slot. So what do you do now? Do you and the rest of the group wait to farm out the missing gear pieces? If you're with friends like I am, very blessed to be, sure, I could see that happening. But in statics, I'm not even sure how to say it in a nice way. Even in statics that just aren't that into you, you're probably going to be kicked for that dude that already has gear that they found on, I don't know, like in game. Maybe they had a PF fill that with someone that was good. They'll probably replace you with that person. Does that sound harsh? Obviously, but unfortunately I've seen exactly that happen to at least 10 times in my personal circles personally. I've never had it in my group because I don't like that thing. It's just like, okay, you can wait a week, but this stuff does happen, and it happens very regularly, and it's really weird for people to be like, oh, I joined a static, blah blah blah, and just be like assuming that they're going to do that. Some statics will, but a lot of them will just kick you. Sorry, you aren't the right role for us and we're letting you go. It sounds kind of like a corporate middle management sludge kind of thing to say. Imagine working with people rather than trashing them. Ugh, horrible, right? Working with people. But that all goes back to acquiring that gear in this game. Sure, for the set of people who are very fortunate, you can get tons of extra boxes and save them up and be happy, but that's usually because you have a static and you can reasonably gear everyone up in 8 weeks. What are players who don't have a static meant to do? I guess just die? Because if you do go into Party Finder, I guarantee you, and I have played this game for a decade, I guarantee you every single player will roll on as much loot as they can, and saying, oh no, please pass on the weapon coffer, probably will fall on deaf ears as everyone else wants it too. They'll be like, bro, what the hell, we are all wanting this. So you have in reality like a 12.5% chance of getting that in Party Finder. So reality is, yeah, we do have that gearing problem, and I meant it when I said it months ago, and I still mean it today. Gearing is extremely difficult, especially for those who do want to run alternative jobs, and for those who are in the position where static wants us to change roles. It's a big problem.